Hey, what's up, you guys? My name is Josh. Welcome back to another toy review. And today we're taking a look at the Ultra Hero Series number 2, Ultraseven. And yes, I know, that's kind of weird, right? The last figure we reviewed was number 3, and this one's number 2. But the reason why I did it backwards, it's because the character Zafi, that was the Ultraman that we reviewed last time. He appeared in the previous show, so of course it only made sense that I kind of wanted to review in order. So I do apologize for the, lack of consistency when it comes to the numbers. But let's be honest here. A lot of these figures, they're kind of just numbered weird. They don't really go in order either, so just bear with me. So, of course, obviously, Ultraman was really popular in the 60s, but I mean really popular. I mean, it was like the kaiju boom during that time. You had Godzilla, and then you also had stuff like Gamera and all that. So it only made sense that EJ Tsuburaya continued the series with another entry in 1967 with his show Ultra Sevens. Get it? Because he came out in 1967. I mean, basically, yeah, and the other weird thing too with the show is that originally he wanted to kind of make it into a trilogy. So like you had Ultra Q, Ultraman, and then Ultraseven. So yeah, he actually just wanted to turn into like a trilogy, and then this would be like kind of like the grand finale of it. Especially considering that the show had a very huge focus on like alien invasions and all that. I mean, I'm not joking. If you look at the catalog of enemies that Ultraseven fights in the show, pretty much almost all of them has the name Alien right in front of them. I mean, you got like Alien Metron and all that, and it's like wow. Honestly, I could go on, but I don't want to spend just the rest of the review just going over his story. Although I will say that this is definitely a pretty weird entry in the series because, long story short, in some episodes he doesn't even become huge like like how Ultraman usually does. Not to mention that the show was meant to be slightly more serious, but not really, but you get the point. If you watch the show, you kind of understand it. Even the character himself is pretty interesting, and I'll go over that in a minute. So let's take a look at the tag right here. I see this number 2, and of course he's fighting against Alien Icarus, which, if I remember correctly, I think he appeared in episode 11 of the show. I'm not 100% sure. And yeah, Bandai did made a figure of him, but unfortunately, he's kind of one of those rare figures, those weird, hard to get ones. So yeah, I'm not willing to spend that much money on it, to be honest. So unfortunately, I don't think you guys are gonna see a review of that anytime soon. Although I thought I'd just kind of mention it just in case. I love how he's just grabbing his ears. That must be painful, right? Anyway, let's get right to the figure. So as you guys can tell, he has a very unique design because it's pretty much nothing like the previous two Ultramans where their designs were very similar. So this one is of course mostly made up of the red color of, and you got like little gloves. I mean, most of them do have gloves too, but you get the point. I mean, of course it's meant to be very different. It's definitely meant to be a completely different Ultraman. The other thing that they try to push with the show is that apparently, despite this being a sequel to Ultraman, they're not exactly connected because apparently this show takes place in an alternate universe. Unlike Ultraman and Ultra Q, where they kind of take place in the same timeline, except not exactly. I'm not really sure how true that is. I know in some Ultraman entries, especially with Ultraman Trigger and Ultraman Z, I know that it's been proven that they both take place in alternate universes. I just thought I'd kind of add that on. And of course, we gotta talk about his face too, because obviously he got that kind of gold thing with his eyes going on. I want to say it's kind of a gold color, if I'm being honest. I'm not exactly sure. It's like a combination. It's like a brownish, kind of yellowish combined together, and it gives you that idea that it's gold. And then of course we got his little green dot right there when he shoots his little laser beam, and yes, he does that. I mean, he still does the same attacks as like the previous Ultramen do, but his is slightly different. Especially with that weird mohawk thing he kind of got going on. That's his damn I forgot what it's called. It's like the something slugger basically. It's like a blade that he throws at his enemies and then he chops them into pieces, and it's honestly it's so satisfying. I mean, he's an interesting character for what he is. And of course we got Under the Feet. And the paint job too, it's pretty good. One thing I do want to note though is that And these little squares that he got going on his armor piece, I know that they're technically supposed to be painted like maybe I want to say like a yellow kind of color. I'm not exactly sure. The paint does kind of change within the show. I mean, in one entry, I mean, he doesn't have that detail at all, and some of them he kind of does. I know if you watch Ultraman Leo, because he has like a huge role in that show, I know that you could pretty much see it that that part is supposed to be painted, and it was kind of like a weird yellow, maybe an ivory yellow. I'm not too sure. It doesn't bother me too much. You know, I think it's fine for what it is. I think it's okay that they didn't paint it. I don't mind, but maybe some people would have liked to see that. Unfortunately, you can also see like a weird little scuff going on here. But then again, we gotta remember these are people in suits, so obviously this weird line thing going on that's supposed to be like the zipper from when the actors put on their suits. There's also this weird padding going on, but obviously that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with the figure. That's just how it is. So I don't know, you know. A lot of these suits had a lot of configuration going on. They always got to make changes, especially with the previous show where I want to say there was like three Ultraman suits that were very distinct and you can very obviously tell what was changed and what wasn't. But it is what it is. It's not really a huge deal. I just thought I'd mention that. So, of course, the articulation on these guys are very minimal, as always. You know, they only got the 3 points. You can move this full 360 if you want to. You could kind of sort of twist them around. Made of a very, very soft vinyl plastic. That's usually how these figures are. They're vinyl, so even though they're detailed really good, they don't have the best articulation, but that's perfectly fine. There's nothing really wrong with that. Just so I kind of point that out. The only issue, obviously, is that if you're importing this, if you're getting this, you know, and it's coming straight from Japan and whatever, you better hope whoever packs the figure doesn't accidentally end up putting it in a way where he got like something going on with his legs. I know when I was reviewing Zafi, which I'm gonna take him out right now. I know that I kind of mentioned that sometimes he does have a little bit of a balancing issue. Like for an example, if I were to put him down, see how he kind of wobbles real quick. You can't really see it when he wobbles, only maybe a little bit, because he's having a hard time right now. You see what I mean? That's because his legs is slightly back, and you can see he's not even standing up straight, you know? That was something that I was trying to point out in the last video too, because sometimes he stands up perfectly fine and sometimes he doesn't. Like I say, it's not a heavy hitter. That doesn't mean that the figure's bad. I'm not gonna take off points for that. I just thought I'd let you guys know because, you know, if you do plan on buying these, you know, if you're a huge Ultraman fan and if you want to get these figures, you know, I just thought I'd let you guys know about that little tidbit because obviously, you know, because these figures are made up of a very soft material, unlike their Godzilla figures, you know, you're gonna pretty much run into that issue. So yeah, now we come to the point where we do the comparison. So let me just get out the figures that I have here. Here he is compared with of course Zafi, because you know, why not? Of course, we got the hero from the previous show, Ultraman himself, and you could pretty much see, you know what? I'm gonna put these in the right proper order. I really hope my camera doesn't fall. You know how many times I had to restart this video just to fix up this stupid camera? So as you can see, that's kind of how the order goes, you know, from appearance wise. And you can also see the differences too with like the designs and all that. See how he looks very similar to him, but you see how super distinct it is. I mean, it's kind of a it's kind of bizarre. I mean, don't get me wrong, as the series goes on, there's definitely much more in variety, so it's not a big deal, but at the beginning it's interesting to see like such a huge difference. And the only other characters that has a very similar design like him would be Ultraman Toro and Ultraman Leo. And yes, of course, I will be reviewing those figures in the future because I do have them, luckily. And yeah, of course, it's a little teaser. For the next video, we're going to be taking a look at one of his enemies, Ella King, which I can't wait to take a look at. And of course, just to give you a good idea of how he is size-wise, so that way, once we get to it, you know what to expect. And then, of course, before that, let's also compare him to Zedon, because this was the last bad guy that Ultraman fought before he left, because, yes, the previous show ended with Ultraman pretty much leaving the Science Patrol, and they just pretty much continue with their lives. Unlike in this show, where now it's a whole new team, the Garrisons, I think that's what they're called, the Science, the Ultra, something like that. And it's a whole new set of scientists, and even Ultraseven himself, instead of a human host having the ability to turn into an Ultraman, now it's different. Now Ultraman can, Ultraseven, now he could create like his own kind of alter ego. So he has one named Dan, who's basically like him but in a human form. It's very confusing. It's kind of hard to really explain. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. That's why I didn't explain it too much toward the beginning of the video, because like I say, I didn't want to spend too much time explaining the background story, because it is a lot, especially later on in the show, you know. And of course, obviously, he's trying to conceal, the secret that he's Ultraseven and all that. So yeah, that ends things right there. So I give this figure a 10 out of 10. I don't see nothing wrong with it particularly. I think it's cool. I like it. I'm glad to own it. And it looks like the character. So yeah, that's about it really. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like I said, the next character I'm gonna take a look at is Ella King. I also would like to point out, I do apologize for me kind of messing up my words a little bit in the video. I was pretty tired from work, so hope you guys don't mind, But of course, I love to give out the facts about the characters, and I like to kind of explain the features of the toys and all that. So, yep, like I mentioned, hope you guys enjoy it. See you guys in the next one. Leave a like and subscribe for more, and yeah, that's about it. See ya.